So here we want to talk about the SISE Honeycomb design, its architecture, how the SISE users and data sets are vetted and organized into a tiered, secure data sharing environment. So the story behind this was we worked very closely with the Defense Industrial Base, a group called TSCP, the Trans Global Secure Collaboration Program, a big nonprofit in that space for information sharing, and they had this very elaborate honeycomb design that separated people and data by project and so forth. It was used by, certainly DoD and contractors and so forth. So we took that approach at their recommendation and scaled it down within the SISE. So within the SISE, you have a honeycomb architecture that's very similar. So the honeycomb cells represent use cases. So the use cases bifurcate people and information into pockets. And if you're not vetted for that use case, you won't even know that cell is even there. So upper left corner, you have universal users, right? They can be multiple sector. You can see down at the bottom, if you're green, it's the electric sector. Blue is the fuel sector. Red is water and waste, food and water sector, telecom. You can have government and private. There's a million ways to segment people. But there are some areas that are just universal. And then there are some in the middle that are cross-sector use cases, meaning they will touch on cross-sector issues for sector interdependency type thing, right? And then out on the edges, you'll see sector-only use cases that are just electric, like in red, the red bottom left. Those are electric sector use cases that only involve people vetted and approved by the electric sector. Bottom right, same. You'll have electric sector there. Food was the red, electric sector is green. So the idea of the honeycomb architecture is you can have use cases that are universal, okay, that are cross-sector, open, and then you have some that are more sensitive that are just within a specific sector. So this is how the people and the information is divided within the SISE. Next, we're going to talk about how do we tier the users. Okay, users are vetted right now on the bottom, which is basically our segmentation process. It is free. It determines a user's sector, role, their interests, and it's basically general way to categorize users when they register with the SISE. And today that's about, right now it's everybody, okay? The next tier up, when we get into use cases that require higher vetting, then we will go to ID verification, meaning like two-factor authentication with each login. That will entitle users of that ilk to be access more use cases that are a little more sensitive, that require you to be in a sector or in a specific role or project. And then the third tier is really designed for access control, meaning you're going to probably have a higher level credential. It is highly use case based. The data owner or owners of a use case will determine your ability to look at the data. That's going to be a small group of people. So this looks at how we handle the people, right? First, we segment them by sector, role, and so forth. Then we move them up. We identify with each login. They can get access to a little higher level. Then you have an actual higher level credential we use to vet the identity and validate it upon login, but also validate it when they enter in the specific use case cell. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about the data sharing policy. So again, there's three tiers. Level 1 at the bottom is access to use cases where sometimes the information is sensitive, but it's not too bad. That's usually like, where is a location, for example, right? That data is simply geomapped. It contains the address, lat long, county, and so forth, and that's pretty standard. A lot of people have that. It's really not that sensitive. It's shareable, and you can find it on the web. So the next level up is sensitive information. For example, not just where the location is, but is it open or closed? Sometimes that is sensitive information. People don't want to tell everyone where the stores are closed because it promotes riots, looting. So you have to be careful how you publish this stuff. In an attempt to help, you can actually do a lot of damage. Okay, so we call that sensitive level 2, right? And there is an example of open or closed status. That's the second way of how we map data. And then the third level is the highest use of the SISE is determined not just where is the location, is it open or closed, but do you have this inventory on hand? For example, does the pharmacy have medications like metformin? Does it have, whatever? Does the store have construction materials? How much? Now, they're not going to give up that information just because people ask for it. There's probably going to be a higher level of agreement, a smaller audience of users, and there will be in the agreement most likely penalties for abuse. So they do not want that information getting out, but in the defense industrial base, there's a $10,000 penalty with each abuse of the framework that they have. So they're very serious about it just because there's so much at stake within the defense industry. So this is how we use it within the SISE in our data sharing policy, and how we separate people, how we vet them, how we qualify data, the different tiers of agreements we have in the SISE, if you will, and then how we categorize things sensitive and very sensitive.